Hello, everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome to this edition of the Racing Insiders podcast. It is May 2nd of 2022 when we're filming this, recording this, all the things. And I'm going to just go ahead and preface and say, if this is the first time you're hearing our podcast or seeing us, we go live on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. That kind of changes seasonally, but going into the summer season, we're going live at 7 p.m. Eastern, I guess it's daylight. Is it daylight time now or standard? It's whatever, Eastern. Whatever Eastern is right now. And you can join us live and be here.
If you're in California, it's 4.
Yeah, well, and speaking of California, I see Scott is here. He says, hi from California. FYI, we haven't fallen off into the ocean yet. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. So it's good to know that if we did hear that today, that would be fake news.
I thought I was going to in 1989 when I lived through the, it's the Loma Prieta earthquake, although they call it the San Francisco earthquake.
Oh,
in 89,
yeah. They kind of, they always stole that.
So it's centered about 5 miles from my shop, basically.
Yeah, it scared you guys out of California is what it did.
It didn't scare us out of California. It drove the economy into the freaking dirt.
Oh,
at
so
the
much
time,
to fix.
which is why we decided to just get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Well, the getting was good.
Yep. And now you've been here long enough to have a Southern accent.
No, I do not have a Southern accent.
Oh, only a little bit.
Nope, not even a little bit.
Okay. All right.
I refuse.
All right. We got some folks here. Welcome, and feel free to drop in any comments or questions. Say, hey, tell us where you're from. All that is really good, fun stuff. I see Richard is here. He says, that lid is kicking. Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
I like my hats. Yeah.
I got a haircut.
Yeah.
I got them all cut.
Actually, he probably wasn't talking about my hat. He was probably talking about
That's probably what
yours.
it was.
That's what it was.
It's my awesome head of hair.
You do have an amazing head of hair.
I know.
Yeah, you really do. You really do. And J. Mike Burns is here saying howdy. And Paul is here from Santa Maria, California.
Ooh.
So the California contingent
Love that
is
racetrack.
in the house.
God, that's one of my favorite racetracks ever.
Oh, really?
Santa Maria. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I used to love going to that place. We'd only get to go there once or twice a year, but because we were running NASCAR stuff and it wasn't NASCAR sanctioned track at the time. And God, I just, we used to call it open comp season. So at the end of the NASCAR season, we'd be able to travel a little bit and go to some other places and race some, big shows at the time. And God, I love that place. That's one of my favorite racetracks ever.
Is it still operating?
As far as I know, it is.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know any different.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Richard says, not the gray ghost. I'm not sure what that is. I'm sure there's a joke there.
It's probably my fucking gray hair.
Oh, well, it's just so interesting because you have like gray tips, like you did that on purpose. Like
I didn't.
I know, but it's just interesting.
Yeah, it comes out brown and then turns gray as it gets longer.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's called something. Ombre.
It's called fucking weird. Is what it's called.
You are sporting an ombre style.
There you go.
Hair color. Oh, Lyle is here. He says, dude, you have a minor Southern accent. Get over it. All right, we got a question here from On the Bars. What is the trying to decipher here? What is the target to get a 602 to run on a inch 250,000 restrictor 2-barrel plate?
250,000.
Oh, okay. All right.
So 1/250.
Okay.
What's the?
I don't know. What is the? Oh, here we go. What is the best way to get a 602 to run on a 2-barrel restrictor plate that runs 1 inch 250?
250.
Mm-hmm.
Run a 1 inch 250 carburetor center section.
Oh.
Yeah. It does pretty cool things when you do that.
Oh, interesting.
So basically, you're not losing anything.
Good to know. Good to know.
Or smaller. Like a lot of the 602 stuff we're doing 600, which off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly what it is, but using a 600 base plate. So at that point, you're actually smaller than your 1/250 restrictor plate.
Okay, cool. Oh, and Dennis is here. He says, love the GPS tracker. Thanks to Kate, I can pinpoint the trailer wherever it is. Great product. Dennis, if I could ask you if you would leave a review on the website, that would be super awesome. Just getting that kicked off the ground or I might just steal your comment here and put your name on it. So, I love mine too.
Yeah.
My track and recover GPS trackers. I am constantly amazed by the places where it'll locate. Because I'm.
Well, we were messing around with it the other day. It was like kind of fun. You used it to like literally GPS ourselves to wherever the hell it was we were going, right?
Gosh, it was so fun.
I mean, just messing around with it. But.
Well, yeah, but because I wanted to try it out in a different location. And so, yeah, we had picked someone up and it was during daylight when we picked the person up. But then to get our way back, it was like, well, okay, back roads and what's the fastest way to get there, and it's dark and all of that. So we were just able to use our last location on the GPS to be able to then put it into our whatever your map software was, and got it to us. It got us right there. So pretty cool there. Yeah, I think a lot more people need GPS trackers just for that peace of mind. I know it gives me peace of mind just to know where my stuff is for sure. Oh, let's see. Lyle says, yes, Santa Maria is open still.
Good.
But Paul says, unfortunately, it's shut down now, praying for a new owner that likes racing.
Ah, wow. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is one of the greatest racetracks I've ever been to. Honestly, I just absolutely love that place.
Wow. And
I love the history of it. And, one of the greatest race car drivers I've ever seen, Dan Simpkins, he's from there. So, I mean, that's God. I mean, gosh, I raced with him his last race, actually.
Wow.
Before he passed away. But yeah.
Yeah.
Badass history at that place.
Well, and there's that whole Facebook group, and in fact, we've got a video or two from the Danny Simpkins collection on the Racing Rewind channel.
Yeah, and I won one of his memorial races. I think the year after he passed away.
Wow. Really, really neat. Oh, so On the Bars is asking back to the carburetor situation. Do you have one for sale?
Man, right now we don't, and because the supplier that supplies most of the carburetor builders with their center sections, they're having a severe supply chain issue at the moment. So it could be as much as 8 weeks before we have anything available.
Well, if you're lucky.
Well, it just depends on how things go. And then even at that point, I can't even give you a current price on it because I know their price on raw materials increase exponentially.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything ready right now, and I honestly can't tell you when we can. Yeah,
that's where I'm at on several products. I know what was originally promised, but once you go past that, there's I don't know. I mean, I'll get it when I get it. It's about all I can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's just right now, it's the nature of the beast.
Yep.
At least for another 2.5 years.
Yeah. Don't get us kicked off of social media, Steve.
Misinformation.
No. Ministry of Truth. They'll come after us.
Yeah.
All right. So Lyle says, what valve springs are you using on 602s?
We're using the factory ones because everything we do, you have to use the factory ones. And generally, in a tech situation, that's the easiest thing to catch. It'd be an aftermarket spring. So we're just sticking with the absolute factory ones, changing them about, every 3 to 5 races and just going with that.
Makes sense. And Emmett's here. He says, hey, how you guys, hi, you guys. How are you doing?
Wow. Good, man. How are you?
Good. Yeah. I think we're good.
Yep.
I think we would both agree that a vacation would be good. So
I totally need a vacation.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to plan something.
It's a burnout mode, and I think I said that about 4 weeks ago, and I'm still in burnout mode. So
yeah, I think
I find myself getting grumpy with people on the phone.
I know, me too.
And I hate being grumpy with people on the phone because normally that's when I fake my best. I like everyone.
Yeah,
deals on the phone.
Go full Stepford Wives.
But yeah, I've been struggling trying to do that.
On the struggle bus for sure. Well, you know what? I might just even make reservations and be like, "Hey, Steve, going on vacation. Would you want to go? Here's where I'm going and when." And yeah,
exactly.
You can do that. We could probably have a special guest on the show.
Yeah, we got a special guest.
Addison, come here for a second. So we have amazing assistant Tori and her amazing assistant Addison.
This is evil assistant to the evil assistant.
So this is Addison Radford. We probably won't be able to get her mom on camera, even though she's beautiful and amazing. She probably won't come on camera. Will you come on camera? She will. She'll come on camera. Yay! So anybody who doesn't know Tori, this is amazing assistant Tori. Just amazing Tori. And this is Addison, my great little helper. You're a helper, aren't you? Yes.
Are you evil?
And
no, not in the slightest.
And how old are you?
7.
7. Great. And you're going to grow up and what are you going to do when you grow up?
I'm going to work here.
You're going to work here for Crate Insider? Cool. Hey, works great for me. I love it. Yeah.
Maybe if you ask Alex, he'll let you take a turn in the race car. Maybe you want to be a race car driver?
No.
Is it scary? Okay. We'll just sell race car parts with you. How's that?
And what grade are you in?
First.
Grade. Well, great. Well, thank you for being a special guest on the show.
You're welcome.
All righty. Have a good night.
You too.
See you guys.
So that was super fun. They're great.
Yep.
Yes. So it's always fun to have a special guest on the show. And I think going into summer, we'll probably get some special guests who might, some folks who might be in the area.
Well, hopefully, like my brother-in-law is coming from Australia at the end of the month. So hopefully we can get him on here. Just, get a little Aussie accent for our Australian contingent,
Yes.
Get him to talk a little bit about, he's coming here and I think we're going to go to a NASCAR race and stuff together and go watch Alex race, do stuff like that. So I haven't seen him since before the pandemic. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been like, I don't know, 2015 maybe?
No. It's been probably about 4 years now.
I don't know. Time goes really fast.
Yeah, it does. It's hard to tell judge time.
It really is.
Anyways, I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah,
when I first met him, I was racing in Australia and he was, I think like 11 years old when I met him. So I guess I'm 10 years older than he is.
Wow.
Like that.
Now he's a full grown adult.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Neil is here from Hooker Harnesses.
Yay.
And he says, "Aren't you too cute today?" Thank you, Neil. Thank you. I almost wore my Hooker harness.
I didn't even put on makeup today. So
wow. Wow, you woke up like that.
I woke up like this.
I'm not going to pretend I did not wake up like this. So it is what it is.
I totally did.
All right. We got a question right here. Dave says, I know you have answered this 100 times, but gap on NGKs for E85, 35, 38, or 40. Also 34 or 36 degrees timing for E85 as well. PPMS is primarily my home track.
Yep. Normally we'll run 40 degrees. Normally we'll run 40,000s gap. And then 36 usually on E85 is almost always safe. So you can probably safely run 36 degrees. Some engines will run better at 37, 38. I've even got a couple running basically 40. But I would not recommend doing that unless you can actually get on like a chassis dyno or, engine dyno it and have your carburetor, dynoed with that, with your exact combination, basically.
Yeah. Great.
But 36 is always safe.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay. So on the bars, can I make it look like a 4412? Have to have the Joe corn. Place says Joe corn, but I'm sure it's Choke corn. Yeah. So I don't know. Can we take a 4150 carburetor and just throw a choke horn on
We
there?
cannot. But if you have to have the choke horn, then I'd probably, try a 600 on there. Still, honestly.
Makes sense. Gotcha. I gotta love autocorrect. Autocorrect is so much fun. All right. Lyle says, Warren W. Learn is a local resident, agreed to let the track run, but no rodeos or concerts. He's already had a practice day and ran a sprint car show. That's going to be at Santa Maria.
Yeah, if he runs a racetrack, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't give two shits about rodeos or concerts, but
yeah, there we go. Yeah. And Neil says, actually, that was Evil Assistant Junior. I like that. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. Yes. All right. David Inkin here from Toy Maker says, any tips on what you would use to keep your trailer and car safe when you're on the road? I know that's totally a leading question.
It's a setup.
It totally is. Totally is. And I don't even have one down here. But of course, our Track and Recover GPS tracker. What's so cool about it is that, and I've learned so much in the last couple of weeks because I've been diving into like how GPS trackers work and I didn't know there was that much to it, but there's kind of a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And what's so unique about it, it's the only tracker on the market that is equipped with a motion sensor.
Yep.
It has GPS and it has what's called Pulte technology because GPS only works when you can see the sky, like with satellites. So you take other GPS trackers inside, and if they're not close to a window, like somebody steals your motorcycle and puts it into their shop and it's all closed off, your GPS tracker won't work. but this one it does, and it's called Pulte technology, and it's not just like triangulation from satellites. It sends data packets, and it's military grade. Yep. It's been tested on those howitzer tanks. Mm-hmm. They've dropped them out of planes and tested the accuracy of those. Crazy good technology. So the deeper I get into it, the more I'm amazed.
And I'm curious now what David's like building on toy makers.
Oh,
so,
I know.
Like, if nobody's ever watched the show, make sure you watch the show.
Yes,
because it's a badass show.
Yeah, I actually just caught some clips on YouTube. We need to have more clips on YouTube because I don't think I get that channel. So I'd like to see some
clips
more.
Clips on YouTube is always a good idea.
Oh yeah, and it's fun. I love the reveals and the personal stories behind these cars. And we got to hang out at the Charlotte Auto Fair a few weeks ago.
So they got to be building something cool as shit right now. I'm sure. So I don't know if we can get a sneak preview of that at all, David. Maybe we'll just have to watch their Facebook page and see what comes out of there. So thank you for the setup on that, David. And I hope that I know that was a total softball, slow
totally
pitch.
totally was. But we're working. I was really glad. I mean, it was something we've talked about. One thing that happened with David going to all these car shows is that big auto, I guess I can't think what it's called, but it's in Detroit. That there was a guy who
he told me about that.
Well, I don't know if I told everybody, but there was a show car, and this guy had the show car in the show, so it was like in the convention center. But back at the hotel, somebody stole his truck and trailer out of valet parking. And he was lucky enough to get one of those back. But I mean, thank goodness that his car wasn't in that trailer.
Exactly.
Or it would have been gone.
Yep, sure.
So, for show cars. And so I've set up my dad with one to put in his show cars to do that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. All right. So I see some other folks are here. And Cameron is here. He says, hello, happy people. I hope you all are doing great.
Yep, doing good.
We are. And and David says, love you guys. So love you guys too. Absolutely. You and Ashley and the whole team. And Cameron's like, Hooker Harness also makes an awesome package for tying your car down in or on the trailer safely. Yeah, that's for tying it down. But the protection aspect of the GPS is what we're going for. If you guys have any other questions, I mean, feel free to drop them into the comments. We're happy to answer any of those. We're probably starting to get into the season. Well, some people are probably just getting started racing. And
it's kind of spotty right now, I think. I think a lot of people are starting later in the season this year, probably due to tire shortages, I would imagine, in a lot of places. But I'm still getting calls daily on new motors, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, that is a really good sign.
Yeah, I've had one person gave a deposit today, and on a whole new combination. So that's, again, a good sign that people still want to race. How long we're going to be able to do it with no tires or whatever is going to be an issue, but we'll just see how it goes.
I mean, I think all we can do is just do our best and adapt to whatever situation we find ourselves in.
Yeah,
I
correct.
think is,
and it's not only tires. I mean, we got shortages on everything. I mean, we're running into issues with, engine rebuild components and stuff like that. And I mean, that's on the crate level of things, with, GM being one of the biggest suppliers in the world as far as, what they source and what they can sell and everything else. But I know a lot of open motor guys are having problems getting blocks and heads, and you name it, everybody's having issues with everything.
Yeah, seems like a lot of it is raw materials, and then of course
I think mostly, yeah.
And then when you have less supply and more demand, then we have inflationary pressures, right. And
correct.
We've got talked about that. It is. I mean,
it's a thing.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. There's things I never really thought I would have to deal with. Like.
No, I know.
I think about what's on my wish list, and I still just want to. Do like just something dumb? I go to CVS the other day, and I want to buy Q-tips. I don't want to buy store brand Q-tips. I want to buy Q-tips. Do you know I couldn't buy Q-tips?
Right.
I know it's just something dumb, so I had to buy the store brand. But there's some things that I just like. They are what they are.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm tired of having to substitute what I want for something else.
What you can get. Yeah,
it was just such a time waster. It is.
I mean, nothing pisses me off more than having to buy single ply toilet paper. So, I've had to do that a couple times, during the pandemic when everybody's buying all the toilet paper.
Well, I bought a bidet.
So there's that.
Honestly, life is way too short to have single ply toilet paper. Like it should not even be a thing. I mean, is there one person in the world that actually is like, wow, when I go to the store, if it's my choice, money is no object, I'm buying single ply toilet paper. Is there anybody out there that
No, because I don't care how many times you like wrap it up, you still stick your finger in your asshole when you're trying to wipe your butt. So,
that was a bit much.
It's true.
That was like,
it's true.
A bit much.
You can like go, okay, I'm going to make this into 2-ply, and like I'm going to make it into 4-ply, and then it's like, nope, straight up the ass.
Well, great. And your mom's here now. And Betty says, hello, children.
Oh, mom's here.
Mom's here. All right, we got some more here. So Paul has a question. He says, power valves for a 602, what are the gains or the downfalls to run a 4.5 or a 6.5?
It's just basically when it opens, and that's usually going to be up to your carburetor builder and what he's got for the stuff he's done to his metering blocks and so on and so forth. I'm not one to really speak to that other than just what I just said. So I would probably contact, a carburetor manufacturer and ask them, the carburetor that they build, normally they come with a power valve in it for a reason that is, 4.5, 6. Whatever. And I would ask them why.
Yeah.
So, it's when they want it to open.
All right. And it looks like we have a query from Stu from Australia.
Yeah.
Good day. What's the difference between purple and pink? The answer, the grip.
Yeah.
All right. So Tombo is here. Says, what headers do you recommend for a 602 Sportsman late model?
Is that a street stock type application, or is it a stock front clip late model, or is it a late model just with a 602? Because that Sportsman series can be anything.
Yeah, it really
honestly
can.
we deal so many different series that call things Sportsman,
and it could be asphalt or dirt as well.
It could be asphalt or dirt, exactly.
So that will make a difference. I mean, as well.
My number one go-to always is going to be Pro Fabrication, if they make the header for your race car or your application.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's my number one. Number two is going to be BA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Good deal. I'll tell you on that header front, I'll tell you who's really cranking them out. Schoenfeld's doing one hell of a job.
Oh no,
Schoenfeld, when it comes to so I've actually with BA, I didn't mention to the guys up there, but for right now, I just kind of turned off their listings. Well, they're on the website, but they all say out of stock because I'm not really a stocking dealer of the BAs, but I do order a lot from them. But they're just so far out because they're 8 weeks out right now, and they have been. So I just wanted to give them a break.
Since I think Joe was the only one in there in the business able to make headers back during the pandemic, wasn't he?
He was, because they're in New York.
That's what I'm getting at.
So literally nobody else. I mean, your choices were you either work by yourself, or if you bring your people in, you're going to jail.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I think that's what the
that was for quite a while, and I know that's had them in the weeds since then. At least.
Absolutely, and so there's just working really hard to catch up, just with all of the orders, and of course being busy season. So to give them a break, and then also just to make it kind of clear, because I tried to put a note on the website, but it just wasn't enough. So for right now, I've kind of turned those off. But Schoenfeld's, I don't stock those either, but I do ship them straight from Schoenfeld, and had an order today, and they shipped out same day. So really, really remarkable. Those guys have caught up a ton, and they haven't had a massive price increase either. Right. So just hats off to the guys down there for doing a good job, for sure. Okay, great. We've got some more questions here. Oh, and Debbie comments, she's from Newsom Raceway Parts. And of course, we both work with Newsom and have great relationship. And what Debbie's saying is, and what we can get keeps going up.
Exactly. Right.
Talking about the GM items, and that's something that's so far outside of my control or her control. It's really handled at, I don't think it's even in GM's control, because they're not necessarily producing each of the parts in-house.
It just is what it is. Yeah. So, I mean, there's no control over it. And, I mean, I've said this before on the show. I mean, it was, gosh, GM would go up on pricing like once a year.
Yeah.
And now it's once a month almost on just random items. And it's been completely insane.
It's been tough.
Again,
It's
through
really...
probably no fault of their own.
No.
And it's certainly not the dealer's fault. I mean, dealers got to make money. We're all in this business to make money. So there's no.
And it gets crazy when like what you're buying it for is more, buying it wholesale. You're buying it for a higher price wholesale than what you used to sell it for retail.
Correct.
Is insane. Yeah. Insane. Cameron asked if he needs to send you some toilet paper.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm good now. I've been good on that.
Oh, David Smith is here from David Smith Carbs. He says nothing like a breakthrough while in the bathroom.
Exactly. Hey, there's your power valve question guy right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And David, if you want to weigh in on a power valve question, and to be more specific, power valves for a 602, what are the gains or downfalls to run a 4.5 or 6.5? If you want to type that into here, we're happy to show it to everyone there. All right. So another question here from Josh. He says, what type of gain do you see with the lightweight quick change gears versus the old style standard Winters gears?
Absolutely zero. I've seen nothing on the chassis dyno that justifies the cost of the lightweight gears. That being said, generally the lightweight gears are made out of a bit better material, and we still buy them.
Yeah.
Like for our own house car. But we don't, and we've also got standard Winters gears as well. So no, I've seen absolutely zero gain, just only in quick change gears.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, I know gears were becoming harder and harder to get. So I just kind of looked at my list of all the things that I've sold in the last couple of years, and I put together a big order and sent it off to Winters. And I said, just send me what you got. Yeah. Whatever you can put in the box, send it to me.
And honestly,
and I normally haven't had gears on the shelf ever.
I equate the quick change gears to like a harmonic balancer, for instance. So when you're talking overall power, overall horsepower, torque numbers, I see no difference between a, let's say, 5-pound harmonic balancer and a 10-pound harmonic balancer. It's not going to be a game-changing win or lose the race. Mm-hmm. What you may see, if you can even measure it, which on the chassis dyno we should be able to, but it's very minute, probably less than 1%, would be acceleration rate.
Okay.
So perhaps acceleration rate wise, the lightweight, trick, rim polish, super badass, $high gears will help in that aspect. But again, we're talking dirt where tires slip. So I don't think it's going to be, I'm talking dirt where tires slip. Asphalt may be a different story. But I don't think it's a game-changing purchase. In other words, so I don't even know what quick change gears are now. What's standard Winters? Like $80 probably for a set?
Yeah, I think 90.
All right. Well, $80-$90. So, buy 2 sets of those for one set of $high super tricked out quick change gears.
Well, let me pile onto that question here. However, regardless of the gear, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the type of gear oil that you use
that has a more of an effect than the actual gear itself. Yes, because you're talking parasitic drag at that point with quick change gears and gear oil. Mm-hmm. So you want the oil that's going to obviously have the least amount of friction and the least amount of parasitic drag.
Yeah, and what I've learned about parasitic drag is how it creates parasitic drag. If we can think about a gear rolling around, really fast, and how it picks up that centrifugal force, and then you see like a gear that started off as 3 inches wide is now like 5 inches in diameter. Right. Well, some people would think that's a good thing. It's not a good thing. It means that the oil
it is to a point, but not
correct. But
that extreme.
It's sticking to itself. But what it's really doing is that is creating that is where the parasitic drag is coming in. Yeah. Whereas what we want a gear oil to do is to come in. We want it to be a barrier between the two gears, so we don't have metal to metal, and we want it to go through and be gone. Because the longer it hangs out, the more heat that it can build. Correct. So we don't want it to build heat.
And the same exact thing actually goes for engine oil.
Yeah. So, well, and interestingly enough,
to a point.
I was actually paying attention when we were at the racetrack a couple weeks ago, and I've always heard that with like with that 3060 gear oil from Daytona 1, that you can really change gears barehanded without having to use gloves.
And my brother did.
Yeah, and I watched him do it. It
Yeah.
was dark, so I didn't like shoot a video or anything. Plus, I didn't want him to murder me, but for having him.
Yeah, right after hot laps, he changed gears.
Yeah.
For qualifying.
Right.
For Alex with his bare hands. So. Yeah,
and I don't think that. I think his hands are going to be tougher than
yours.
Like right, because I've got girly hands, but regular mechanics hands, that are gonna be strong. Like, yeah. So
yeah, it's not a problem with that stuff.
So just kind of a good tip there on the gear oil. Great. All right. So back to the header question where we had additional questions about that Sportsman late model. Tombo says that he's running a late model with 602 on dirt.
On dirt. Okay, then yeah, I would definitely recommend the Profab headers, and whether that be their stainless or their mild steel.
Yeah, and we're gonna have mild steel first. From what I understand, I was actually expecting them to be ready. Oh, was it last week? Yeah, and just things get delayed. It is what it is. So we're just waiting on those, and we'll get.
Yeah,
some
and mild steel are built to the same exact quality as their stainless. Matter of fact, you probably can't even discern the difference between the two if you looked at them.
I mean, you might as well save the money, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to save a few bucks, then the mild steel is the way to go.
All right, so Matt has a quite good question. He says, what can local tech guys do to catch 602 and 604 cheated engines, because there's plenty of them out there?
It just depends on where you're racing, and I don't know like how plentiful they actually are. Generally, honestly, most guys that get busted in tech, it's something stupid. I've had, you see time and time again, a guy decides, okay, well, I'm going to buy the pack valve springs for my 602 or 604. Well, I mean, that's one of the easiest things in the world to catch.
Right.
But then on social media, oh my God, the engine's illegal. The rest of the engine might be completely legal, but the guy's got illegal valve springs.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to change them 100 times a year.
Right.
That kind of thing. Most engines that are actually torn apart in tech and caught illegal, again, it's going to be something stupid. I've had an engine in my shop here. Well, it's still there, but a couple weeks ago, it got torn apart, and it had an illegal oil pump drive shaft in it, an illegal pickup tube, and like an illegal oil pump bolt. All three of those things in a tech situation get you thrown the fuck out. And all of a sudden, the entire engine's illegal when it's just those three items. So normally it's idiots building engines that don't belong building engines for this series who don't know any better. Because
none of those were performance advantage items, correct? So they were just like, I'm not going to spend $80 on an oil pump. Hell, I'll get one for $30.
So generally on a local level, to answer your question, the number one thing that people are going to find wrong are going to be valve springs. Beyond that, honestly, you need to have a series normally come in there to where they do have a cam doctor where they can check the cam in the car, things of that sort. A bubble or whistle or whatever, that'll work, to an extent. I mean, that's going to catch, 383, stuff like that. But beyond that, protest. If you think you're getting outrun by some dude because, his shit's pulling off from you 5 car lengths down the straightaway and you think your car is great and everything else is great, protest his ass. Have them pull it apart.
Well, and if it does become very over the top, that we've seen where Vicky and Mike have stepped in as a series, there was just a lot of speculation. And so at some point someone won a race for the third or fourth time. And in order to quell any of those rumors, they went ahead and had it. And rather than waiting for the series went ahead and pulled the engine.
Just on a weekly show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that I would talk to my racetrack about. Like, if you're talking if you just race 1 or 2 racetracks, then I would talk to the racetrack about it. Be like, hey, we can put up our $1,000 or whatever it is to protest every week or whatever. But at some point, the racetrack does need to step in, or the series it's sanctioned under, and be like, hey, maybe we better look at this dude and if his shit's right, we're buying him a gas cassette and giving him seals, to put it right back together again or something like that.
Right. All right. Jeremy says, Steve, are y'all booked up on dyno time this week?
This week, God, you'll have to call me tomorrow. Honestly, I don't know. I know I've got one in the morning. I don't remember what the rest of the week is.
Gotcha. And somewhere in between there's engines to be pulled apart. And
that's what we have to do. Yeah. I mean, we still have to do that.
I'm
trying to juggle that a little bit right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, give me a shout tomorrow or whatever. And if we don't have anything this week, I know for a fact next week's wide open.
Good. All right. Kenny is here. He says, what differences are you seeing between the 486 and the 411 rears?
That is going to be acceleration rate and a little bit of power at the tires. The power of the tires is not a whole lot, but acceleration rate has been pretty significant. And normally with that 411, it allows you to run an 8-inch ring gear, and that's even a bigger gain. So, God, I can't remember the exact numbers. 2.5% acceleration rate, I think is what the difference between the two was that we tested back to back. I mean, literally pulled rear end out on the dyno, put another one in, and tested back to back.
And then that's a significant difference when we've got a low horsepower application.
Absolutely. So any low horsepower application needs to have a 411 rear end.
And that's why
preferably an 8-inch ring gear.
Yeah, and that's what we've got on the website as far as the rear end that we have listed on our website. I don't stock those, but it's something that where I worked with them and what's the best rear end we can get for a dirt late model, for a crate and all red polished, gun drilled, like the whole deal. And so that's what I got.
Yeah. Now that makes more of a difference to me. Generally on larger racetracks, I've got customers still running 486 rear ends, but usually they're like running, little short places where honestly that's not as big of a factor because it's more, car setup rather than outright, speed and acceleration.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay. Mike's here. He says, hey, Kate and Steve, to adjust valves on a 602, is it best to warm up the motor first?
It doesn't matter. You can do it either way. Just so long as you can feel where zero is on the push rod and zero lash, you can do it either way, cold or warm.
Great. And when is there anything special to know about when you feel zero lash? What that could feel?
Well, yeah, basically you got no lash. So, you're twisting the push rod and playing with wiggling the rocker. And when you feel no lash, you're at zero.
Okay.
So then from there, you would go your 3/4 of turn preload, which is what we recommend.
Great. And Wayne Robertson is here. Yay.
Oh my God.
Gosh, we haven't seen you in forever. And he says, just tuning in, but did you say Steve has girly hands? No, Steve does not have girly hands. I give Steve shit about plenty of things, but having girly hands isn't one of them.
Yeah. Man hands, damn it.
Man hands. Yes, you do have man hands. Oh my goodness. Oh, we got a great answer here from David Smith from David Smith Carburetors.
Yep.
For anybody who's joining us late, we had a question on the power valve for a carburetor. And David says, consider a power valve as a timing device as to how quick or slow the fuel from the power valve fuel channel starts. Most builders have set up the power valve to work best. Their tuning setup. 6.5 is a standard Holley deal. It fits a broad spectrum of cars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great.
So again,
kind of 6.5 is
like I said, it's a timing or what I said, it's when you want that power valve to open to. Yeah.
And to know that the 6.5 is really kind of the go-to. Mm-hmm. That's a really valuable information. And Don Martin says, good evening. And he says, what are your thoughts on drivers running on the chip every lap?
I mean, certain places that I've seen and been to, it can be a benefit. Most places is not going to be. Mm-hmm. I'll use Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania as an example. It's a big, giant half-mile track. And we saw some modified racing up there with 602 modifieds a couple of years ago, I think, when we were up there.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are like coming off the corner and they're beating the chip before the flag stand on a half-mile track. I'm like, pull some freaking gear out of the damn thing. You just gain some mile an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to bog down. Yeah.
I have no idea why the hell you're beating shit out of a rev limiter before the flag stand on a half-mile track.
Right.
So yeah, there are certain scenarios where that does help you. Usually it's going to be a short, slick, quarter-mile type racetrack. Half-mile stuff, no, it's just killing you. So the first guy smart enough to pull gear out of it and actually use the engine in the RPM range it's designed to be used in is probably going to kick everybody's ass.
Well, and you've always found too that we get that question quite a bit, as far as where should we be with the rev limiter and all of that, or what size chip, and so many times you've come back and said, yeah, instead of the 6400 or the 6800 for a 602 versus a 604, that your most successful guys are running 62, 63 on a 602, and they might be running 66 with a 604. Right. So they're not flirting with the chip every lap.
And considering they're using that last 1,000 RPM before they actually hit the chip to just get down the straightaway without hitting the chip.
Yeah.
I mean, a 602 basically falls on its damn face at 5,300 RPM.
Oh.
So, but you got to have that gear in order to get in that power range, get off the corner and get it down the straightaway.
Gotcha. All right. And then on the 6.5, Jeremy says, is that a 6.5 Grendel or a 6.5 Creed? He says, sorry, that's gun humor.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I went ahead. I don't understand what that meant.
Creedmoor's better, apparently.
Oh,
I don't own one. But
yeah. Me neither. Glock.
I did see the U.S. Army went to 6.8.
I don't even know what that means.
That's going to be a thing.
I have 9mm bullets. That's all I know. So, I'm probably normally supposed to call them bullets. I'm probably supposed to call them ammo. Yeah, there's all this whole gun etiquette that you have to learn when you get a gun. Yeah, gun etiquette.
Right.
It's fun. Oh, all right. Bob says, I love half-mile tracks. That's cool. That says 10-4. Team 12. Let's go, Brandon. Team 12 Racing.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think we're all cheering for Brandon these days.
Overton or Shepherd?
Good. You know what I call that? An escape clause.
Right.
Yes, an escape clause for sure. Yes. And David Smith says, totally agree about the chip.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, we want to maximize what we have without trying to push it too hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a way that's just going to slow us down.
Well, you got to, at some point, you just got to back up and use common sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can turn no more RPM on a half-mile track before I even get to the damn flag stand halfway down the straightaway, what's that tell you?
Yeah. Yeah, you
pull some fucking gear out of the car.
Yeah, you're just spinning your wheels at that point too.
You're not spinning your wheels. You're just going nowhere because you hit a brick wall,
right?
And then it just stays there.
Yeah, yeah. And Jeremy says on the 6.8, yeah, that 6.8 Western is supposed to be pretty badass.
Is that what it is? Western? I didn't know what it was called actually. I knew it was 6.8. I didn't know what the actual designation was.
Yeah, I don't even.
Yeah, Sig Sauer got the contract with the Army for.
Oh, really?
That and. Isn't that I think the machine gun that they approved? What is that? I don't think that's 6.8. I think the squad automatic rifle, or what weapon saw or whatever, that's going to be 6.8. But I think that they also approved. Didn't they? I think they approved the machine gun at what was that? It's like some wicked ass damn freaking kick ass round.
Yeah, and I'm not going to know. So
I don't remember what it was. But yeah, it was it's bigger than 6.8. I know that. So tells me what they're gearing up for.
Well, apparently we're not going to be
penetrate body armor is what they're gearing up for.
Well, apparently we are not going to become the next best gun podcast out there.
No, I remember what it was. I just can't right now.
That's okay. We talk about race cars and a little bit about just life and politics, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is all kind of blended up together. Yeah. Oh, I watched a show you recommended to me though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Last night I watched the Bad Vegan show.
Oh, did you?
Wow.
Isn't that not crazy?
Wow. Yeah.
I finished Ozark last night, so I can tell everybody the ending.
Oh, I'm no. Actually, I've never watched even one episode.
Have you not? Okay.
And you're kind of you don't actually give the spoiler alert so that people can close their ears. You just kind of tell how it's going to end and let people know.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Well, and then this happened and you wouldn't believe, I didn't expect it to end this way, but it did. Yeah. I'm glad you didn't. I think I saw Game of Thrones before you did. So So otherwise you would have ruined it.
Yeah. I don't want to ruin the ending of those.
Good. Do not. In case I decide to watch it.
Someone dies though. I'll put it that way.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Big shock. That's my spoiler.
That's like saying on Game of Thrones, you know what? I think somebody might die in one of these episodes. All right. Bobby is here. He says, how much fuel pressure should you run on a 602, 650 carb, 93 octane?
Generally, on the stuff we normally tune around, we're around 6.5 to 7 pounds.
Yeah. And now you're running bypass regulator.
Yeah. On a bypass system. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, and I think we've got a couple of those, and we're working on.
And I think again, you can ask David this, but I know like most of that stuff will run down to 5.5 pounds. I think without a problem, but normally 6.5, 7 pounds is always a safe place.
Gotcha. Tom Siri says we run a 7,000 chip on our 604. You think that's too much?
I do think it's too much in the sense that most MSDs or I assume that's what you're running because most people are. Most MSD rev limiters, they're going to jump over that by 200 RPM minimum. So if you're bouncing through holes and stuff, you're going to see more than 7,000. And that's when you start breaking shit, honestly. I mean, you got to consider, have the 604s gotten better over time? Yes. The rods are better. The blocks are better. The heads are better. The intake manifold's better. The camshaft's still the same. But what hasn't changed at all is the pistons. So piston speed, meaning RPM, is usually what ends up ripping the wrist pin out of the piston, and you got two nice big holes in your cylinder wall where your wrist pin just went down and slapped shit out of the cylinder wall. So
now you've also mentioned to me before that anything over 68 is generally going to valve float anyway, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the newest springs from GM, I would say valve float's probably increased a little bit, but it's not. We're not having top end failures. We're having bottom end failures.
Okay.
So anymore. So top end failures are rare unless you're trying to turn the shit like 74.
Okay.
Which there's been a couple dudes probably trying to do that and found out the hard way. But generally, it's going to be a bottom end failure, and it's going to be literally ripping the wrist pin out of the piston because we're still dealing with a piece of shit cast piston.
I got nothing. All right. Ryan says, how hot is too hot an oil temp in a 604 late model?
10,000 degrees.
1 million.
1 million degrees. I mean, oil temperature is like one of the things I just don't even pay attention to anymore. Most of the modern racing oils, they're going to handle stuff that is just stupid temperatures compared to, let's say, 15 years ago.
Yeah. Without breaking down. That's the most important part.
Without breaking down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like in my kid's car, I don't even have an oil temperature gauge because honestly, normally when you're running 604s in a late model and you're just pretty much flat out all the time, that light's going to be blinking or glowing from, lap 15 and a, 50 lap feature on. So it's not something I pay attention to anymore. Water temperature is something I'm more concerned about. So, and generally oil temperature is going to run within 40 degrees of water temperature, even without a cooler.
Cool. So, Jeremy says, I see
but to answer your question, sorry.
Okay.
I mean, you don't want it to be like, the needle wrapped around going up the other side. So, normally most of these 604s, if they're running, like I said, you're running flat out for, let's say 25 laps. Gosh, man, you're going to be up around 280 to close to 300, probably oil temperature wise. So, I mean, it doesn't scare me.
No, and especially with the modern oils, that's the biggest.
Modern oils, and we actually got race bearings in these things now and stuff like that. So, we're not using standard passenger car bearings anymore. They're coming with race bearings from GM, and of course, we're allowed to put those in there when we rebuild them. So,
good. So Jeremy says, so I see a lot of folks changing gears after qualifying. Do you want to gear the car differently for qualifying than if you are racing normally?
Generally, yes. And it depends on the racetrack. Obviously, that's the most important part about what you're doing for gear ratio. But and when your class goes out, we'll take the track my son races on Saturday nights. Of course, we just raced for the first time last week, so we were changing gears from hot laps to qualifying. But you might hot lap with one set of gears, change because the groove might change where you're literally on the track running around, because you might have 82 divisions of race cars out there. and it's going to change from the bottom to the top. Well, if you go from the bottom to the top, obviously you're going to be pulling gear out of the damn thing. Or it might go vice versa. It might go from the top to the bottom. So you're going to be putting gear into it. So yeah, there's you just got to constantly stay on top of gears. Now, normally when you're changing gears like that, you're fine tuning. So everything we've got is within 5 points. So all the gear ratios we have from, gosh, what is it? Basically a 5.0. On up is, I don't remember, it's 4 to 6 points difference in each gear ratio.
Okay.
So we're fine tuning that much between gear ratios.
Depending on the track conditions and
Correct.
And everything else. Yeah.
And that might not sound like much. I mean, and honestly, mathematically, it doesn't equate to a whole lot. It might equate to 100 RPM with, 6-point gear change.
Yeah.
But, go from, let's say, like a 540 to a 545 or something like that. And I might mathematically equate to 100 RPM. But on the track, it makes a world of difference.
Right.
As far as, how fast you're actually end up going.
Makes sense. And Curtis is mentioning here, he says 7 pounds at idle, I believe 11 pounds at 5,500 RPM. I'm assuming that's fuel pressure. Right there.
Yeah, 11's too much, in my opinion. If it was that on race gas, on the pump gas?
We didn't talk about fuel. It just was wondering what the fuel pressure.
Yeah,
I believe.
Honestly,
how much fuel pressure should you run on 602, 650 carb? Yeah, it's 93 octane. You were right. Pump gas.
Yeah, that's too high. That at 11 pounds on race gas, you're probably overcoming the needle and seat at that point. I'm going to think, but
makes sense. Is that the full answer?
Yeah,
okay.
There's David. David's got to answer.
Oh, and David's going to answer. He says 7 to 7.5 max, 11 pounds should cause flooding issues in the corner.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's overcoming the needle and seat at that point, or it's spitting out the vent tube.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want that. Here's a good question, one I don't think I've seen before. Mike asks, how often should I change the fuel pump rod?
Well, I mean, once a year I would certainly inspect it. Other than that, if you got the right fuel pump rod for the right application, meaning a steel tip for a cast cam and a bronze tip for a, steel cam, then gosh, things should run for years.
Mm-hmm. Great. Which is good because I can't get them.
Fuel pump rods?
I have one, but
why does that not surprise me?
Swear to God, I order this stuff, but it's just unobtainium. Okay, here's Steve has a question. He says, "Hi, happy Monday. Do either of you know why Rush switched their crate cars to E85 fuel, and how is E85 race fuel different than the E85 you can get at the pump?" That is a really good question.
Yeah, I think the reason that they switch is because everybody else has. So I mean that would be a primary reason. Number two, I think, is going to be cost.
Yeah.
So E85 is going to be inherently cheaper than either the 110 or the 91 that they had before, which is still legal to run if you want to in that series. But the difference that you're going to have between something you buy out of a drum versus at the gas pump is going to be, number one, contamination. So what you're getting out of a sealed drum is pure E85. What you're getting at a gas pump is going to be E something, maybe 85 with a bunch of water in it, or not, or maybe next week there is, and the following week there isn't. So,
I think that one of the ways that I really liked it explained to me was that with any fuel, with any of the pump gases,
you explain that kind of Pete.
Okay, with any of the pump gases, if you get to a gas station and there's a fuel truck there, you do not want to get fuel right then, because they're pumping that fuel into that tank, and that tank collects condensation, dirt, just all the things. And if as soon as you're pumping that in, like with the fuel truck, it's mixing all that up, and you're getting all of those contaminants mixed into the fuel. So any of the pump gases, whether it's a 93 or it's an E85, that is one reason that you want to get it in sealed drums. The other piece of that is the fact that, E85 is going to start with like E100, and then what are you going to cut it with for the other 15%? And so in the case of at a regular gas pump, they're just going to use like regular gas. Sorry, hang on. Well, when he gets back, we'll have a chat with the neighbors here. But could you guys be quiet, please? So there's that. Whereas any of your race gas E85s are going to be cut with another race gas. So like your X85, for instance, from VP is going to have, E100 mixed with a race gas as far as that 15%. And you do eliminate those contaminants. The other thing is with E85, if you go to the pump at any given time, it could be E85, it could be E70, and they're going to call it all E85, but you definitely need to have an E85 tested in that case.
I mean,
I'm going to let you explain, and I'll be right back.
I'm not explaining anything.
Okay. Do you want to go to the next question?
It was going to be a quick comment.
Okay.
All I was going to say was that with any ethanol, it's much like methanol in the sense that there's always going to be a certain amount of water contamination within that fuel. But with a sealed drum from a actual racing fuel manufacturer, you're going to minimize that. Mm-hmm. Whereas you cannot do that out of a pump in the ground at grandma's gas station down the road.
Yeah. Great. All right. Bobby says, just swapped motors. Backup already had fuel pump. It's pumping 12 to 13, and this weekend had a loading up flooding issue. Yeah,
that's going to be because of that fuel pressure.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
For sure.
Gotcha. And Greg says, E85 or CHP for a 525?
We've run my son's engine on both. I think that either one is just fine. We have not had a lot of time to do a lot of playing around on the E85, just again due to time factor and everything else. As far as the ignition timing programs and stuff that we run on them, we're basically using the same between both. Me personally, I think it runs better on CHP. So I think next time he goes and races, unless we just somehow free up a bunch of time where we can sit there on the dyno for a damn solid week and figure out, E85 stuff on the 525, and then we'll be on CHP probably.
Gotcha. And as Steve said, I was also told the race stuff is E85R and different than pump.
Yes. Yeah. That is correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in other words, like I think I heard you say that they're going to use E100, which is pure ethanol, and then they use a race gas of some sort to mix it back, 15% back.
Correct. Yes. And Curtis says 85 at the pump uses 86 octane for the 15% gas in it. And the 85 from VP and Sunoco uses 93 and higher octane gases for their 15%.
Right.
So yeah, it's just a way better quality of.
Now, I mean, the other thing is you can always mix your own. If you can find somebody that'll sell you E100, you can mix your own. We used to do it back in the day. I mean, back in the day, we were using CHP and we were using E100. And now that takes a bit of dicking around. I never really recommend mixing fuel unless you actually have the proper tools to do so, meaning a way to check it very accurately. But that was good fuel back in the day when we were mixing our own stuff.
Well, and is that by weight or by volume? Or like,
what do you mean?
So if you're going to mix the let's say an E85, so we want a 15% mix. So are you doing it by volume? So like I would take.
We were doing it by volume. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you can probably also do it by weight.
Okay.
Once you figure out the exact mixture that you want.
Great. Wow. Like who knew that the chemistry calculations would come in handy someday?
Yeah, there you go.
I want E85. Yeah. How much?
But I don't recommend doing that. I just rather buy it from VP. Like go, hey, give me some X85, and that's what I got.
Well, and Curtis says he used to mix his own all the time. And And Tim says, have you ever heard of the E85R velocity fuel? So what I don't know is with Rush Rules, if there is a specific E85 or if you can use any brand of E85.
I believe that you have to use the Sunoco.
Okay.
Because they still fuel test and do stuff like that.
Yeah, because that was part of it. I mean, it's also
that's why she went to that Sunoco rule.
Okay.
Back in the day, so they could tech it and make it everything as equal as possible. I didn't agree with it back in the day when she did it, but where she's at, I see where it makes sense.
Well, and you've got a lot of happy racers because it's contained, and sometimes when you just
you're not getting outrun on fuel.
Exactly.
We're down in our area.
We laughed. Now here's a good one. I
know could be M5 methanol.
We don't know.
With some E85.
And Jason says, "What are your thoughts on the VP X85?"
I love it. I think it's a really good fuel. Out of my experiences with all different fuel manufacturers we've ever dealt with, VP is probably the most consistent as far as what they produce, and sell to the end user, the racer.
Well, one thing I've not heard at all this year is having any.
And I don't sell the fuel, by the way. So
neither do I.
Trying to sell you VP. I'm just saying.
No, I don't.
Out of my experience, that's what I've run into.
But the one thing I've not heard is I've not heard of anybody saying that there was a fuel shortage, a racing fuel shortage.
No, but it's going to continue going up in price. I mean, I got some new price increases last week from one of the dealers that we purchase our stuff through. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I was just happy to report that there's something you can actually get. So that was making me happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're always going to produce corn as far as I know.
Yeah. All right. So Trina has a good question. Has GM made any changes in the past few regarding the 602? I was thinking possibly the crankshaft. Wasn't there something about weights in the past, or was that the 604?
No, they the most recent change to the 602, the most recent part number change equated to them changing crankshafts.
Okay.
So yeah, they went to basically the same exact crank as the 604. Obviously, it's balanced completely different than a 604 because everything, the pistons weigh totally two different deals and rings and both engines. So that would be the last change. I do think that they changed the part number again once they corrected their screw up as far as like some of the machine work goes.
Yeah, and I think
no, what it was, they changed part number again because they put the race bearing. The newest 602s now have race bearings in them, just like 604s. So that was the most recent part number change on that engine.
Well, the other thing about the part number changes on the 602 engines, which is great that they find that they end them all in 602, but every time that they've got a different supplier with any one of the components, I mean, it could just be a bolt or a gasket or a something. Correct. It's because it's a different combination. So it's like a different recipe. So they changed the part number based on
which lets them keep track of what is what.
Right. What of the 85 things that are in it. And you change one and it changes the whole part number as far as the whole assembly
of the engine.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that it's better or worse, or it's just slightly changed on the parts.
Well, it could mean it's better or worse. It's been better and it's been worse.
But it doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, I think a lot of times people are like, well, hey, should it be new and improved? And one thing Bill Martins has always told me is that no, we don't want to new and improve these. We want to have consistency in what we're offering, whether it was today or 5 years ago.
Yeah, to their credit, they're still very consistent as far as what these things actually produce.
Right. And then James says, how many races would you say is a safe number before it's time to look at bearings, rings, etc., if it's properly maintained? And we're talking about a 602.
Oh gosh, I've had her brother, for instance, Jimmy Schultz. I think he ran one of our 604s 90 races. And this is
he probably changed the oil once.
He's like a dude that probably changed the oil once and the valve strings twice. So that's really bad maintenance. So I'm not saying run it 90 races. So what we always suggest to our customers is you leak it down every time you change valve springs.
Oh,
so, if you're going to, on a 604, for instance, if you're going to change valve springs every 10 races, like we normally recommend, then leak it down at the same time. On a 602, if you're going to change valve springs every 5 races, leak it down every 10 races. If the leak down continues to be within the realm that we want it to be in, then continue racing it. I mean, you're not losing power.
And I just got leak down testers in. Yay! I was down to one. I was getting a little worried, but got them on the shelf.
But again, I mean, that leak down tester tells you everything about that engine you need to know.
Good deal. Well, I think it's time for one final comment here. And Kenny says, the best ethanol is in that aluminum bottle. So I think that's a good thing, good way to wrap things up today.
Actually, I got some damn good ethanol right in there somewhere.
Yeah, we kind of have it everywhere. Yeah. We've got caches of ethanol. Shh, in case we need it. Well, do you have any final words before we sign off for this week?
I don't really. I mean, no.
Gotcha.
I'm all good.
Well, I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for being part of the show. And wherever you're watching, if you want to check us out over on iTunes or any of the podcast players, and you'd rather listen to our show or on the replays, you can do that. And for those who are listening to the replay, catch us live Monday nights on the Crate Insider YouTube and Facebook channels. We go live 7 p.m. Eastern. We try to go every Monday, and we've been pretty consistent in that.
Well, I think Monday will continue, right?
Yeah, I like the Monday.
7 o'clock.
Monday at 7 o'clock works for me. Yeah. And we're so grateful, and thank you for all of the fantastic questions this week.
And we could be spotty every now and again, like just like random Saturday or Sunday thing.
Yeah,
maybe too,
yeah.
Or something,
and we would add on.
Just depends on who we've got with us and who we're around and.
Absolutely. If you have any requests, drop them into the comments. We do look at those even after the show. So thanks again, and we'll see you guys next week.